When you hear a name like Bill Romanowski connected to the San Francisco, it instantly takes you back to a different era of football. A tougher era, and what makes this moment so cool is seeing Romanowski back in San Francisco, right in the middle of the Super Bowl buzz, reconnecting with people who were part of his journey. You can feel how much this city and this franchise still mean to him. This isn't just another media stop. This is someone who lived it, bled for it, and now gets to watch the 49ers host another Super Bowl with a front row seat to history. What really jumps out is how much Romanowski values those relationships. He's talking about bumping into old teammates, guys he hasn't seen in years, and instantly the stories start flowing. That's what football does. It connects people for life. And 49ers fans, that matters, because it reminds you this organization isn't just about what happens on Sundays. It's about decades of shared moments, championships, heartbreak, and pride. Hearing those stories brings that legacy back to life. And think about it from his perspective. He played for the 49ers, won Super Bowls, went on to win more championships elsewhere. And now he's standing in San Francisco while the football world descends on the city again. That's full circle stuff. It's a reminder that the standard in this building has always been championships, not just playoff appearances. That's the lens Romanowski looks through, and that's why his opinions still carry weight. Before we go any further, if you love hearing real stories from former 49ers players and you want more exclusive content like this, make sure you resubscribed and notifications are on. We're pushing hard toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you makes a difference. Now, let me ask you this. When you hear a former player talk about running into old teammates and reliving those moments, does it make you miss old school football? Drop a simple yes or no in the comments. I'm curious where you stand on that, because this interview isn't just about nostalgia. It sets the tone for everything else Romanowski talks about, from how he lives his life now to how he evaluates the current 4-9. You can already tell he hasn't softened with time. The mindset is still there. The expectations are still there. And that's important, because next, he gets into what life looks like for him now and why he still approaches everything with the same intensity he had as a linebacker. What's interesting about Romanowski is that even though his playing days are long over, the way he talks about his life now sounds exactly like how he played football. There's no switch that flipped. He still wakes up every day with a purpose. He still calls himself a grinder. And honestly, that tracks. Guys who played the game the way he did don't suddenly become laid back once the pads come off. That intensity sticks with you. He spends his time running his nutrition business, working deals, helping people, staying productive, and that part matters because it tells you something about his mindset. This isn't someone just living off old highlights or Super Bowl rings. He still wants to build something. He still wants to improve. That same accountability he demanded in the locker room, he now demands from himself in business and in daily life. That's why, when he talks about football, you listen. His standards never dropped. He also makes it clear that he still watches the NFL closely. He's not disconnected from the modern game. He watches every Sunday. But like a lot of old-school football guys, the playoffs are where his attention really locks in. That's when football becomes pure again. Physical, urgent, no room for mistakes. And you can hear how much he still loves that part of the game. The pressure, the intensity, the moments that define careers. And there's something relatable about that for 49ers fans, because when the playoffs hit, everything feels different. The regular season matters, but January football is where legacies are made. Romanowski gets that because he lived it multiple times. And that perspective matters when he starts evaluating teams, coaches, and players. He's not impressed by flash. He's impressed by execution when it matters most. Quick question for you. Do you like hearing about what former players are doing after football? Or do you mostly care about what they have to say about the current team? Let me know in the comments. I actually think both matter, because understanding how these guys live now helps explain why they think the way they do. And if you're enjoying this deeper look into a former 49ers linebacker's mindset, hit that like button and make sure he's subscribed. We're building something here, and getting to 1,000 subscribers is the goal. Because now we transition from Romanowski, the businessman, back to Romanowski, the footballer. And when he starts breaking down the 49ers season and Kyle Shanahan's job this year, his honesty really stands out. When Romanowski starts talking about the 49ers season, you can hear the respect immediately. He doesn't sugarcoat things, but he gives credit where it's due. And his praise of Kyle Shanahan says a lot. Calling Shanahan a magician isn't something he throws around lightly. That's coming from a linebacker who played 4 championship teams and knows how hard it is to keep a locker room together when everything starts going wrong. And Makey. No mistake, a lot went wrong for the 49ers this season. The injuries alone could have sunk most teams. Key players in and out of the lineup. Constant adjustments, guys being asked to step into bigger roles than expected. And yet, the 49ers still won 12 games. They still won a playoff game. They still showed up every week competing. Romanowski sees that as elite coaching, not luck. Keeping a team playing hard through that much adversity is one of the hardest jobs in football. And he made it clear that Shanahan pulled it off. What stands out is how Romanowski talks about effort and belief. He truly believes that team played hard for its head coach every single week. That matters. When injuries pile up, that's when teams fold if they don't believe in the message. The 49ers didn't fold, they kept fighting. And that's why, even when things didn't go their way, they were still in games late. That resilience isn't accidental. But Romanowski doesn't stop at praise. He's blunt about where the season turned. When he talks about the physical mismatch against Seattle, it's not about one bad game or one bad score. He's talking about getting beaten up in the trenches. He points out that even in a close game before the blowout, the physical dominance was already there. That's a former linebacker telling you the tape doesn't lie, even when the scoreboard is misleading. And that's where his warning comes in. If the 49ers don't get better up front, they risk falling behind in the division. He talks about the Rams. He talks about Seattle potentially winning a Super Bowl. The message is clear. Talent alone isn't enough. You have to be able to match physicality, especially in January. That's old school football thinking, but it's still true. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with Romanowski that this was one of Kyle Shanahan's best coaching jobs? Given everything the team went through, drop a yes or no in the comments, because I think this is one of those seasons that people will appreciate even more as time passes. And if you're locked in on 49ers offseason storylines like improving the offensive line and getting tougher in the trenches, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, and this is where all those conversations are going to live. Because next, Romanowski shifts from coaching to players. And when he starts talking about Fred Warner, you can hear genuine admiration from one elite linebacker to another. When the conversation turns to Fred Warner, you can tell Romanowski isn't just complimenting him. This is one linebacker recognizing greatness in another. He doesn't hesitate. He flat out says there's nothing Fred Warner can't do on a football field, and coming from a 4-time Super Bowl champion who built his career on intelligence, physicality, and intensity that carries real weight. Romanowski talks about Warner's violence at the point of attack, but he's just as impressed with what happens before the snap. The diagnosing, the instincts, the ability to see the game unfold and get to the right spot faster than everyone else. He even points out how well Warner speaks, how thoughtful and articulate he is. And that matters because it shows how much is going on between the ears. Great linebackers don't just react, they anticipate. He encourages fans to watch Warner differently, not just following the ball on the broadcast, but locking in on number 50 for every snap. And once you do that, you start to appreciate the little things. How he gets teammates lined up, how he erases mistakes, how he closes space in a way that makes the field feel smaller for the offense. That's the kind of player who changes games without always showing up in the box score. What's really powerful is when Romanowski admits that watching Fred Warner makes him wish he could play again. That tells you everything. This isn't nostalgia talking. That's respect. He even compares the style of play, saying that while he didn't have Warner's physical gifts. That's the type of football he aspired to play. Intense, physical, smart, relentless, and then he brings it back to what the linebacker position is supposed to be: intensity, violence, leadership. He references the legends he grew up watching, guys who set the tone for entire defenses. That's the lineage Fred Warner is now part of. And for the 49ers, having that kind of centerpiece on defense is priceless. So, let me ask you this: is Fred Warner the best linebacker in the NFL right now? Not just one of the best, but the best. Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want, tell me who you'd put in the conversation with him. And if you appreciate defensive football and leaders like Fred Warner, hit that like button and subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and your support keeps this kind of content coming. Because Romanowski doesn't stop with praise. He finishes with a bigger picture message about football, physicality, and what it takes to build championship teams. And that message matters a lot for where the 49ers go next. See, Romanowski wraps everything up by bringing it back to something he believes in at his core, and that's how football teams are really built. He talks about intensity, physicality, talent, and most importantly, accountability. When he reflects on the great teams he played on, there's a common thread every time. Those teams were loaded with high-end talent, Hall of Fame players, Pro Bowlers, and elite leadership at quarterback. That wasn't an accident. That was intentional team building. And even though he drifts into talking about other organizations, the message still applies directly to the 49ers. You don't win championships by hoping things break your way. You win by stacking talent, dominating up front, and having leaders who demand excellence every day. Romanowski's perspective is shaped by Super Bowl locker rooms, and that's the lens he uses to judge everything. If you're not strong in the trenches, if you're not physical, you're eventually going to get exposed. That's where his old-school mentality really hits home for San Francisco. The 49ers have the stars. They have the coaching. They have elite players like Fred Warner setting the tone. Now, the question becomes whether the organization can take that next step and fully commit to winning the battles that matter most when the games get tight. Romanowski believes that part of the game never changes, no matter how much the league evolves. He also talks about preparation and discipline, even off the field. Putting the right things in your body, treating your career and your life with intention. And that mindset mirrors what championship teams do. Nothing is random. Everything has a purpose. That's the standard the great teams live by. And that's the standard the 49ers are chasing. So, here's my question for you. What do you think is the single biggest thing the 49ers must fix to get over the hump and win another Super Bowl? Is it the offensive line, physicality in the trenches, or something else entirely? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you've made it this far, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. This is where real 49ers conversations live, and your support means everything.